I know Andy, and then we have a girl coming with us. She's from Hungary, and she's been traveling with us for the summer. She plays keyboards and guitar, and she's like a singer-songwriter. But she's been traveling with us, and I can play drums too.
Well, you must do what you do best.
I don't know.
You can give a drummer some tips.
Alright.
He's a little boy who grew up in our church from just a baby and always wanted to play. He's our key drummer in our church today.
In July of 2014, we had the opportunity to join a church from Port St. Lucie, Florida, as they led a missions team to Cape Town, South Africa. We were excited to see what God had been doing and will be doing in the local church and community. After almost 40 hours of traveling, we met Pastor Gerald November and the incredibly welcoming people of Lakeview Community Church. That night, we joined them for their weekly Bible study. We had no idea how much our lives were about to change. The next day, we got to join right in, and we helped serve in the soup kitchen they run. At its core, it's essentially a church service, feeding the hungry and sharing the gospel every single week. We met some of the most selfless people on earth in the kitchen that day. As we served alongside these ladies who give up their time every week to cook for hours on end, they showed us clearly what it means to care for the least of these.
Really blessed. We get to go all around the world. This is our very first day in South Africa in the history of our lives with you guys. So.
Outside the doors waited hungry children of all ages. They were waiting for a simple cup of soup and a piece of bread. These are the ones for whom Jesus died. These are the beloved children of a king.
Value beyond anything you would understand. It struck me, it like hit me when he told me that, because this girl had come from a place where she had no value.
The next day, as the team from Discovery Church arrived at Cape Town Airport, jet-lagged, hungry, and yet still incredibly eager, we got to welcome them to South Africa alongside Pastor Gerald and Pastor Gino. After the hour-long drive from the airport, we went straight back to join the church at a welcoming party they had planned for us. As the American team fought to stay awake after their long trip, we laughed, ate delicious foods, and worshiped alongside our new South African friends. That's about the time when they taught us how to worship in Afrikaans. I'm sure they enjoyed laughing at us as we struggled to learn the dance. One of my absolute favorite moments is when you realize that no matter where you are or what language you sing in, we get to worship the one true God, the creator of the universe. One of the very first things we did as a team was to help facilitate a rally and a concert at the local church. You see, the thing about music is that it has an incredible way of breaking down even the highest of walls around the hardest of hearts. And it allows us the opportunity to speak directly into lives. That night, as we jumped around and as we played our songs, we got to be part of what many in the room would later tell us was their very first concert ever. As the night progressed, you could sense something was about to happen. The presence of God made itself incredibly evident as we moved into a time of worship. Tim O'Carroll, the pastor of Discovery Church in Florida, stepped onto the stage and shared the hope of Jesus Christ, the story of redemption and how God had a plan for each person in that room. He spoke that night on the amazing reality of grace. 12 people stood to their feet when asked if they wanted to surrender their lives to Jesus. One of those guys later told us he had always known who Jesus was, but on that night, in that room, he finally met him. Simple joy, something that many people never truly experience. We got to share that with over 350 kids on the second day when we threw them a party. We had silly dances, we had football, we had jumping castles, and face paint. These are kids who come from broken homes, where they may never experience one person who truly shows them love for who they are. And so for ours, we just loved them. We did something as simple as feeding them lunch. We let them run around and scream all morning long, and then we helped meet real needs. As each child left to walk home, we gave them a clean toothbrush and a piece of candy. Maybe that was counterproductive, but that day, after we shared the gospel with them, we got to send them home with a smile and the knowledge of who Jesus is and what he did for them. Our own faces ached from smiling so much that day. It really is true. It's better to give than to receive. Lavender Hill. This place was described to us by the locals as one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in all of Cape Town, known for its high levels of murder, drugs, and rape. So that's where we went. We set up an open-air service right in the middle of all of it. As soon as we started setting up, we had kids and adults alike coming out just to watch, waiting to see exactly what we were about to do. With about 300 people standing there in the wind and in the cold, we began to play. The idea of combining both rock and roll and worship together was a completely foreign concept to so many of them. So they watched and they listened. As we stood there singing, I became completely overwhelmed, realizing that we get to stand in the middle of what the world labels as dangerous and proclaim truth without fear. We get to go beyond borders and make hope known to the hopeless. God came into our midst that day and moved in a mighty way. We saw at least 10 people from this broken community give their lives to Jesus, right there in the middle of that field. We later found out that 2 Muslim girls had given their lives to Christ as well. Jesus came for the least of these. He paid the price for these kids, for the ones who wander the streets without parents, for the ones who grow up destined for gang life, for those who have no hope, and for those who are broken. Jesus lives for those who are dying. Steenberg High School, a school with 1,450 kids in its halls 5 days a week. We had the opportunity to play a concert for their morning assembly. We had an entire hour to play some rock and roll and share the gospel. Tim spoke that morning, teaching that through Christ, we can do all things. At the end of the assembly, the principal took the microphone from the stand and thanked us all for sharing. He ended it with, "And remember, kids, I can do all things." And then 1,450 kids said, "Through Christ."
It seems like I saw that everything is possible with Jesus Christ. And I think it was an appropriate story and important because
we also got to see and go to the top of Table Mountain, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world today. From the top, you are able to look down on one side and see the city of Cape Town and view the Atlantic Ocean on the other. Experiencing things like this always reminds me that this world could never have been made by accident.
Sometimes you have to face failures.
Hebrews 11:1 says that faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. It gives us assurance about things we cannot see. We were taken to see lions. Seeing these majestic beasts brought to mind how big our God is and how powerful having faith in God can be. Hebrews 11:33 and 34 says, "By faith these people overthrew kingdoms, ruled with justice, and received what God had promised them. They shut the mouths of lions, quenched the flames of fire, and escaped death by the edge of the sword. Their weakness was turned to strength. They became strong in battle and put whole armies to flight." How could you not want to have faith like that?
Stand back. Thing is that there's a chicken to him. Yeah, technically. Yeah, line language, kinda. Yeah.
She wasn't helping.
There are many places in this world that you can look at and see the glory of God in the creation around you. Through all of our travels, Cape Town is one of the most evident we have seen yet. With the mountains right up against the ocean, it's hard to deny that there is a creator. We got to see a group of penguins on Boulder Beach, a small spot of land which is the only place in the world that they can be found without a blanket of white surrounding them. These small creatures were created by God for us to enjoy, simply because He loves us. We traveled on to Cape Point, one of the lowest points on the African continent. We walked up to the very top and looked down to where you could see a beautiful beach with crashing waves. We saw what God created, giving glory in their own way. Later that day, we went into what the locals call squatter shacks. Basically, the people there find a spot of public land and begin to build a home with whatever materials they can find, simply so they can survive. Most of them are made up of plastic or tin walls with a tin roof. Anything they can scrounge to create a barrier between them and the wind and rain. In that neighborhood, we met a lady who attends Lakeview Church, was saved 2 years ago, and wanted to reach out to her community, so she decided to host a soup kitchen out of her home. We had the privilege of helping enable her to reach out to the children and their parents simply by sharing a little soup and bread. The children came to us with any container they could find without holes in it for their portion of soup. we got to see again how showing love in such a simple way changes lives. We spent an evening at CCFM, a local Christian radio station in the Cape Town area that has been on air since 1993 and has shared the gospel through many avenues since then.
You go to Cool Watch.
We were able to have a spot on air to talk about what we do and why we travel the world.
Started out as just a rock band, man, just playing rock and roll shows in Portland, Oregon, or Oregon, Portland, whichever came first. And
I get it.
Yeah, dude, just over the years, man, God just progressed and opened doors and opened new doors. And as we would take steps and just kind of follow where God would lead, it was crazy. We'd end up in places we could have never dreamt of. We got to play for people that we couldn't have imagined playing for, and gone and done things we could have never. We're in South Africa right now. Who would have dreamt? We're in South Africa, guys.
We quickly became friends with the radio host, and through the hour we were together, we talked about things from accruing air miles to the food we'd eaten that week. In the time to come, we will be able to work alongside the radio station and create more opportunities to share the gospel.
And share some of our stories and our faith. And I believe that when we share stories of faith, we not only build up our own faith, but we build up the faith of those around us.
We are Christians. We don't get to retire. We were privileged to get to spend time with some of the older ladies in the community, most of whom had been in ministry for 40 years. There's an incredible legacy which comes from those who faithfully serve. Singing along to some worship songs and sharing stories, you could feel the joy and the encouragement in the room grow. That afternoon, we finished up the walls on a room that the church was adding to their property. They build almost all of their buildings with concrete slabs and tin roofs.
It's just a giant Lego building. That's all it is. Because we are the body.
Today we're helping build this multi-purpose facility for Lakeview Baptist. God provided all the funds from America to build this facility, and so next year there's going to be a team doing dental work in here. It's going to be a room they can use for their rehab program. It's going to be used for all kinds of stuff. But we're in retreat in Cape Town, putting up walls.
Hi, clean up. What happened?
Wash your hands.
Heathfield High School. We had the privilege of playing a rock and roll show in their outside courtyard after school let out. One of the songs we played was our song Dark Side, which tells the story of a young girl who took her own life. We could see by the reaction on their faces that the story hit close to home for many. Through that, we were able to talk to a few kids about how God loves them, even in their brokenness. After the school, we made our way over to Marsh's Children's Home. The kids from 4 to 16, all from very different parts of Cape Town, live together in this small group of homes.
Oh, don't hurt yourself.
We brought them a few footballs, which we were able to jump in and use right away, playing a few games with the children. In the few short days we spent with the people of Cape Town, we got to experience so much love and so much kindness from every single person we encountered, including the ones deemed as a lesser being in that culture. It's the greatest feeling seeing every child of the King being loved and cared for by the church. I don't want to go to my grave hearing other people's stories of faith. I want to live my life and make my own stories. Christ died so that we may live. We must go so that the whole world may know.
Thank you for what you're doing here. Thank you, Father God, for the plans that you have for each one that is present here. Thank you for the bright future that you have and the glorious hope that we have in you. It's all because of you.
Hello, my name is Amir Montague. I am in the children's home. You see, this place is Marsh Memorial, and you see this fun day that you did let us be here, and thank you for the balls that you gave us, and thank you for the fun, and I hope you come again and make the Lord be all of us in the world safe. Amen. This is me and my friend. This is Boosle. This is me, me and me, and we are friends, best friends, and Boosle. And we stay in the house, one house, and we love these people that come now, and they enjoy the thing they do to us, and we are just so happy. And we see all the stuff that you gave us, and see the necklace. I like it, and thank you for everything.
Thanks for this necklace. We wish you could come here at Marsh again. Marsh Memorial Children.
Marsh Memorial.
I love Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see.